What is up, guys? My name is Mark, I'm a singing student, and today we're going to be analyzing some really impressive vocals, I think really underrated vocals, that Freddie Mercury sang for the song Play the Game. Before we start, I just wanted to say I have officially set up a Patreon that you can check right here, in which basically you will be able to access these same videos, but without the annoying copyright cuts that YouTube forces me to do. So that's pretty much it. But without any further ado, let's get into the video. I promise that I always try to keep the interruptions that YouTube forces me to do here, the least annoying as I can, but YouTube has a strict 8 seconds limit for copyrighted material. So the first thing on the song is this 20 seconds long sound effect that starts and it sounds like this. Which, I have to say, it's really cool because Play the Game is the first song in the Game album. So it makes sense that it has some sort of introduction because it makes sense to the album as a whole. But I have to admit that after listening to this song a lot of times, this intro starts to get a little bit annoying. So if you guys are interested, there's the 2014 remastered version from Queen Forever, which jumps straight into Freddie's vocals. It just goes straight to this.
Open up your mind and let me step inside.
So a very interesting first phrase. We have middle register. It is the exact same starting notes from We Are the Champions, and I think you can even recognize the tone because they're quite similar. And I found this really interesting live performance for Freddie doing Play the Game, in which he sings this same introduction with this same exact breathy tone, but I think even more exaggerated, so it sounds really cool. Take a listen.
Open up your mind and let me step inside.
Of course, he's not doing the last note in falsetto as he did on the studio version, but the beginning notes sound incredibly breathy.
Open up your mind and let me step.
Almost like the studio version.
Open up your mind
So let's keep going.
inside. Rest your weary head and let your heart decide. It's so easy.
So there's a really interesting octave jump on these notes because he's singing kind of low and then the falsetto shows up almost unexpectedly. It's a very different situation, for example, in Bohemian Rhapsody where he goes, "Life had just begun," because in that case he's building into the note. The notes in this case are almost completely identical, but for singers it might be a little harder than the Bohemian Rhapsody phrase because you don't get this chance to build up into the note. You have to jump straight into it. So let's keep going.
When you know the rules, it's so easy.
When he says, "When you know the rules," that's just basic chest voice kind of pushed upwards. But now comes one of the most interesting parts of the song for me.
All you have to do is fall in love.
That phrase when he says all you have to do is fall in love is one of the very few cases in which I'm sure Freddie Mercury is using something we could call mixed voice. One of the other cases being this one, in Somebody to Love.
Can't barely stand on my feet.
It's the exact same register in terms of notes, and the tone is very similar. And you can tell it's mixed voice and it's not chest voice, because when you hear it in live performances, you will hear this massive difference in tone. And this is what I've done right here in these green and purple tracks. So you will be able to hear the difference between Freddie doing the exact same phrase in Play the Game and Somebody to Love in the studio version in mixed voice, and then in a live version in chest voice. So here it is, Play the Game mixed voice.
All you have to do is fall in love.
And here in a live performance.
All you have to do is fall in love.
And here's another example.
All you have to do is fall in love.
You have to pay attention, especially when he's saying the word have, because that's when it's the most noticeable. Listen to that in mixed voice.
All you have to do.
And listen to that in a pushed chest voice.
All you have to do is fall.
And then we have the same thing for Somebody to Love that I put together here.
Can't barely stand on my feet. Can't barely stand on my feet.
Which is even more, way more noticeable. the difference between mixed voice and chest voice. I thought that was really interesting about this song. And then we go straight into this amazing phrase.
Everybody play the game of love.
Freddie's doing a C5 in falsetto, and in this case, his tone is kind of straightforward, but there's that same note towards the beginning of the song in which he uses this insane vibrato, and I wanted you to hear it.
Everybody play the game of love.
Right here. It's the same phrase, but in the first occasion he didn't use vibrato, and in that last phrase he did. And it's just amazing how fast the oscillations are.
Another cigarette and let yourself go.
The harmonies sound so amazing, and they're so perfectly blended together. And also towards the end of the song, Freddie's interpretation of it starts getting more and more aggressive. He stops using falsetto, he starts going more into chest voice, and he also adds vibrato. And you know how I was mentioning before he was doing mixed voice in the all you have to do is fall in love phrase. At the end of the song in the studio, he will do it in chest voice.
All you have to do is fall in love. Play the game.
Now I have pasted here in green the previous mixed voice example, and now I think this will be as clear as the difference gets. This is mixed voice.
All you have to do is fall in love.
And this is chest voice.
All you have to do is fall in love.
There we go. I found this so fascinating. It's weird to find the isolated vocals for this thing, so it's just amazing. Then of course in the middle of the song we have the bridge, and the difference is quite clear. He will do entirely falsetto in the studio recording.
My game of love has just begun.
There's not a single bit of chest voice in that phrase, but when he sang it live, you will hear this aggressive sounding tone. Now take a look at how he did that in the studio. It is incredibly different.
My love is pumping through my veins.
And right before we end, we have one of the most impressive moments of the song in terms of vocals, and that is a chest C5 instead of his usual falsetto. You know, like I said, he starts getting more aggressive towards the end of the song. So he does the same note, but in chest voice.
Play the game.
And he doesn't attack it directly, and he does something called portamento or portamento in Italian, which just means sliding into the note by passing through every single note in the middle in the corresponding scale, if that makes sense. And it sounds spectacular. I was so amazed when I first heard it. So this is it for today, guys. Remember to check out my Patreon if you want, an extended version of this without interruptions. Subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys.